Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Comedy this hour, Freeman Gosden and Charles Correll as Amos-n-Andy from 72 years ago, February 18th, 1951, the best in town. And we thank you for tuning us in on this Saturday, 18th day of February, 49th day of the year, 316 days remaining until we get to 2024. The first ongoing filibuster in the U.S. Senate began on this date in 1841. It would last until March 11th. The American Party, the Know-Nothings, convened in Philadelphia on this date in 1856 to nominate their first presidential candidate, former President Millard Fillmore. In Montgomery, Alabama in 1861, Jefferson Davis inaugurated as the provisional president of the Confederate States of America. 1865, Union forces under Major General William Tecumseh Sherman set the South Carolina State House on fire during the burning of Columbia. 1885, Mark Twain's Adventures of Huckleberry Finn first published, and in 1901, Winston Churchill made his first speech in the British House of Commons. In 1929, the first Academy Awards presented. In 1943, the Nazis arrested the members of the White Rose movement. The first Church of Scientology established in Los Angeles on this date in 1954, and released on this date in 1954, The Long, Long Trailer, starring Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz.
It all started when Lucy told me she wanted to spend our honeymoon in a home away from...
Home. Only $1,800. And that's complete, mind you. Everything is included. All this furniture. Chairs, sofa, bed, stove, refrigerator, shower bath, everything. Absolutely everything.
Well, it's kind of roomy at that. Wonderful closet space.
Where? That's the living room.
Now, Turner Classic Movies host Robert Osborne said the studio wasn't sure if the film would be a success. They thought people wouldn't pay money to see Lucy and Desi in a movie when they could watch the couple on TV for free. You know, I Love Lucy. Well, Arnaz made a $25,000 bet with the studio the movie would make money, more money than the current highest-grossing comedy at the time, Father of the Bride, starring Spencer Tracy and Elizabeth Taylor. Arnaz won the bet. According to MGM Records, the film grossed almost $4 million in the U.S. and Canada and $1 million elsewhere, earning a profit of $1.5 million, or over $13 million in today's money. In 1967, Robert Oppenheimer, the father of the atomic bomb, died of throat cancer at the age of 63. He talked about the effects of a nuclear war.
You can certainly destroy enough of humanity so that only the greatest act of faith can persuade you that what's left will be human.
The father of the atomic bomb, Robert Oppenheimer, passed away on this date in 1967. The Chicago Seven found not guilty of conspiring to incite riots at the 1968 Democratic National Convention on this date in 1970. 1972, the California Supreme Court invalidated the state's death penalty and commuted the sentences of all death row inmates to life in prison. The Shah of Iran on this date in 1974 talked about the trust between him and his people.
I'm not afraid of my people. It's not a political campaign. I'm not going to look at the polls tomorrow to see if I'm 2 degrees higher or lower. And that's because this confidence exists between me and my people. They trust in me, I trust in them. I believe that I know the job. So I'm not trembling in thinking or saying what I say, because I know that tomorrow I won't have to go to the polls.
the Shah would be deposed by an Islamic revolution in his country. Space Shuttle Enterprise test vehicle went on its maiden flight on this date in 1977. Never flew, it just was strapped on top of a Boeing 747. Never went into space. It was a test vehicle. In 1979, snow fell in the Sahara Desert for the first and only time in history. On this date in 1979, 1983, 13 people died, one seriously injured in the Wami massacre in Seattle, said to be the largest robbery-motivated mass murder in American history. 1998, two white separatists arrested, accused of plotting a biological attack on New York City subways. FBI agent Robert Hansen arrested on this date in 2001 for spying for the Soviet Union. He was ultimately convicted and sentenced to life in prison. A sad day for NASCAR on this date in 2001. Dale Earnhardt killed in a crash during the final lap of the Daytona 500, which was won by Michael Waltrip, driving in a car that Earnhardt owned. His son, Dale Earnhardt Jr., finished second.
This is undoubtedly one of the toughest announcements that I've ever personally had to make. But after the accident and turn 4 at the end of the Daytona 500, we've lost Dale Earnhardt.
NASCAR President Mike Helton. And it was 2021 Perseverance, a Mars rover designed to explore the Jezero crater on Mars as part of the NASA Mars 2020 mission, landed successfully. Among others passing away on this date in history, the German religious reformer Martin Luther, gangster Frank Costello, actor Andy Devine, pro wrestler Kerry Von Erich, baseball broadcaster Harry Carey, also another fine wrestler, Ivan Koloff. Born on this date in history include Edward Arnold, Adolph Monjou, politician Wendell Willkie, race car driver Enzo Ferrari, the saxophonist Wayne King, country musician, songwriter Pee Wee King, actor Jack Palance, Helen Gurley Brown, George Kennedy, John Hughes, the director, and a fine broadcaster of his own right, also game show host. But we remember him for his time on Monitor, Bill Cullen.
Here's Monitor now on NBC.
And welcome again to the Big M, where we have a lot going for you. This is Bill Cullen, an exception to the foregoing, with a shopping note for you ladies. Always reach for the items at the back of the supermarket shelf. They just might have last week's prices on them. Keep the customer satisfied is our music anyway. By Simon and what's the other fella?
Home is where I want to be.
I perpetually get asked, who do I wish I had met? And one of the people was Bill Cullen. Because from everything I've heard, not only was he a great gentleman, but he had such a sharp mind, such a quick wit. I would love to have been able to sit down and have him on the radio. Bill Cullen passed away back in 1990 of lung cancer. Born on this date in history. Yoko Ono, 90 years old today. Actress Sybil Shepherd, 73. Still playing with the Queen of Hearts is Juice Newton, 71 today. John Travolta, 69. Vanna White from Wheel of Fortune, 66. From My Bodyguard and the Flamingo Kid, Matt Dillon, 59. Dr. Dre, 58. Molly Ringwald, 55. The personal trainer, Jillian Michael, 49. And from Shameless, Jeremy White is 32. Though some of the people celebrating birthdays on this 18th day of February, and if this happens to be your birthday...
Hi, we're the Four Freshmen, and we just want to say... Happy birthday to you.
And on this Saturday, Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, 72 years ago today, February 18th, 1951, that was a Sunday, Freeman Gosden and Charles Correll, Amos-n-Andy. Thanks for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox here on your favorite radio station. I'll have some thoughts about Amos-n-Andy in our next half hour, but right now, let's get underway here on this Saturday edition of Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. 72 years ago today, Sunday, February 18th, 1951, Amos-n-Andy.
you know what that music say?
Yes, sir, Amos. That music say good health to all from Rexall.
The Amos-n-Andy Show with Ernestine Wade, Lou Lubin, Johnny Lee, Lillian Randolph, Roy Glenn, Leo Cleary, Vince Townsend, Dorothy Dandridge, Norma Green, Jeff Alexander's music, and radio's all-time favorites, Amos and Andy.
How do you do, ladies and gentlemen? This is Andy. My good friend Amos has been talking to you at the beginning of each of our Rexall programs. I just wanted you to know, and sincerely know, that I, too, hope you will visit your Rexall druggist, because remember, every Rexall drug product must give you the satisfaction you want, or you can return it to any Rexall store and get your money back.
With spring only a month away, the Kingfish's wife, Sapphire, decided to pitch in and really do some house cleaning. She's put up her hair in a bandana and is right now wearing slacks and an apron, and she's just come into the living room.
Holy smokes, Sapphire, what is you doing with that broom?
I'm going to use this broom to sweep up in here.
Oh, from that outfit and the looks of you, I thought you was going to ride the thing.
My outfit don't call for no comments. And beside, I noticed when that young Miss Jackson across the hall wears slacks, you was always eyeing her.
Now, look, honey, you can make a sandwich with salami or you can make it with caviar, you know. The covering is what's the inside that counts.
It so happens, George Stevens, that I've been told that I got the figure of an 18-year-old girl.
Don't be silly. How could anybody get a figure like that in only 18 years?
Now, that's enough. Instead of laying down there on that sofa finding fault with my figure, you could help me with my house cleaning.
Some house cleaning this is. In the fall, you sweeps the dirt out of the bedroom into the living room. And in the spring, you sweeps the dirt from the living room back into the bedroom. I tell you, we got dirt in here that has crossed that threshold more times than the Chinese has crossed the 38th parallel.
Listen, I don't see how you can just lay there and let me do all the work. I don't see how any man can stand by and let his wife work her fingers to the bone while he does absolutely nothing. You is absolutely the laziest, no good loafer that anybody ever seen on the face of this earth. And if you think for one moment that
Wait a minute, Sapphire, wait a minute. You gotta close that big mouth of yours. The way you was hollering, you was blowing all the dust back in the bedroom.
So you left the house and beat it down here to the lodge hall, huh, Kingfish?
Oh, yeah. Had to get off the firing line there. She was lobbing shells at me.
Yeah, she really cleaning up the place, huh? Well, I guess that dump-a-sile of yours really needs it. Hey, what you doing with that old rag over your arm, Kingfish?
Oh, this, one of my old suits, Andy. Yeah. Nice piece of material, unfinished Worcestershire, yeah. Yeah, Sapphire was cleaning out the closets and told me to get rid of the thing.
Yeah, well, that ain't a bad-looking suit. And who knows? That velvet collar and the belt in the back might come back in style one of these days.
Yeah, well, I ain't wore the thing for 2-3 years. I remember when I got the suit, though, Andy. I wore it the first time that I took Sapphire over, and, well, she took me over to meet her mama.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at there. I never did get all the blood stains out, see there? Well, before I throw the thing out, though, I better go through the pockets here. Let me see what's in there.
Oh, yeah. You never can tell when you left something in there. Might be something invaluable or something you can't.
Yeah, well, let's see here. Here's a half a piece of pool chalk. Here's a letter here. I was supposed to mail this for Sapphire 3 years ago. Here's a shut-off notice from the gas company.
Hey, what is this thing, Kingfish? Looked like a pawn ticket to me. Got a date on it there, December 1947.
Oh, yeah, I had a tough winter that year. I had to pawn my bridge. I tell you, son, I had to gum my way through a lot of pablum before I got back on my feet that night.
Yeah, well, there ain't nothing in this stuff here that's going to put you on easy street.
Yeah. Say, what's this card here? Look like half of it been tore off here.
Yeah, what is the thing?
Some kind of advertisement or something. Say here, are you interested? Call Lehigh 75432 for the best in town. No charge. Can't make out the rest of it, and it's tore off here.
Looked like they give him something away. I answered one of them things once and got a can of kennel rations. You know, Kingfish, you must have been saving that card for some reason.
Yeah, I wonder what it could be. Wait a minute, hand me that phone there, and I think I'll call up and feel around, see what this best in town could be here, you know.
Yeah, man, after all, they say it's free. They giving it away all grotten.
Oh, sure. Glad to think
Listen, when you speak to them, tell them that you want 3 or 4 of the best in town, Kingfish.
Hello?
Hello, is you the people that is advertising that you got the best in town?
That's right.
Well, I read your ad and I was interested. Now, these best in towns you got over there, they're good-sized best in towns, ain't they? 'Cause I don't want to get no skimpy ones, you know.
Oh, well, we have all sizes. You know how it is.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to make sure. I didn't want to take no chances. Excuse me a minute, say, Andy. Whatever it is, they got all sizes.
Well, if they have shoes, ask them if they got any 14 and a half.
Say, Miss, I'm very interested in this thing. I wonder if you could tell me just
I'm sorry, but Mr. Cunningham, who is in charge of the office, is out right now. Why don't you leave your name and number, and I'll have him call you back and give you all the information.
Yeah, well, have him call me because I'm very interested. My name is George Stevens, and you can call me here at Lennox 78043.
I'll have him call you. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Well, then, a fellow by the name of Mr. Cunningham gonna call me back.
Yeah, well, I don't guess he's gonna call back right away. Let's go out to lunch. My stomach is so hungry it's snapping at my liver.
Yeah. That's a good idea, Andy. Come on, let's go and eat something.
Yeah, you know, this thing might work out fine. And whatever the best in town is, I think we ought to split it.
Yeah.
You mean to say my husband ain't here?
Sorry, Mrs. Stevens, but Mrs. Stevens and Andy just left the lodge hall here about 10 minutes ago.
I got a lot of work for him to do at home, and he goes gallivanting around with that bum Andy Brown. I'm going in his office and leave him a note.
Yes, ma'am. Now, his office is right...
I know where his office is at.
Yes, ma'am. I just said that.
I'll find a pencil here, and I'll leave that loafer a note. Hello?
Hello? This is Mr. Cunningham. I'm trying to reach a Mr. George Stevens. He called me a short while ago.
Well, he ain't here right now. Is there any message?
Well, could you have him call me back again? He said he was very interested in our service. My girl tells me that he was quite excited about it.
Well, what service is this that he's so excited about?
Why, I have a Lonely Hearts Club. We advertise. We have the best clients in town.
A Lonely Hearts Club?
Yes. And incidentally, I wonder if you could tell me just what kind of a girl Mr. Stevens prefers.
That's all, brother. That bald-headed old goat. There's one rover boy that's come to the end of the trail.
Well, let me get in the apartment here. Funny that Mr. Cunningham never called me back at the office. I'd like to have one of them best in town. Oh, well, probably just free corn plasters or something like that.
George, get in here, you no-good loafing bum. I want to talk to you.
Well, the voice of the snapping turtle. Did I do something wrong, honey?
Don't you pull that innocent stuff on me. I happened to be in your office when that Mr. Cunningham returned your call.
Oh, well, what was it about, honey?
You know very well what it was about. The idea of you, a married man, going to a Lonely Hearts Club. Why, you ought to be ashamed of yourself.
But, honey,
And after being married for 22 years, I want an explanation, and I want it now, you old buzzard.
Well, I was only trying...
That's a dirty lie.
Well, now, listen, honey, I didn't know nothing about that Mr. Cunningham running no Lonely Hearts Club. Now, look here. I just found this card in my pocket. See there? All it say on there is the best in town. I think I was going to get something free or something. You see, the thing is torn, honey. I didn't know what it was. It's just curious about the number. I swear that's the truth.
Well, George, Maybe you is telling the truth for once.
Of course I is, honey. Now, please put that flat iron back in the kitchen, will you? Now, let's talk this thing over sensible honest, honey. I ain't innocent. I didn't know it was no Lonely Hearts Club. If I wants to be lonely, I don't need to go outside. I got you.
Well, all right, George. But let me warn you. If I ever catch you so much as even looking at another woman, it'll be the last thing you ever do. I tell you, George Stevens, I'm going to have your undying love and devotion if I have to put you in the cemetery to get it.
February 18th, 1951, Amos-n-Andy on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. The news from 72 years ago today follows these important messages from your favorite station. Classic Radio Theater family, you know our friend Mike Lindell has a passion to help everyone get the best sleep of your life. He didn't stop by just creating the best pillow. He created the best bed sheets ever. They look and feel great, which means an even better night's sleep for me because, you know, I'm working like 67 hours a day. Now, Mike's offering the best deal on his Giza Dreams bed sheets ever. You can get a set of Giza sheets for as low as $29.98. You'll never want to sleep on anything else once you slept on a set of Giza Dream sheets. A special offer for you right now. You can get a set of Giza sheets for as low as $29.98. Call 1-800-928-4715. Use the promo code Wyatt. Or go to mypillow.com, use the promo code Wyatt. It's good on anything on the website. That number again, 1-800-928-4715. Use my promo code Wyatt. Thanks for tuning into Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. On this Saturday, we're listening to an episode of Amos-n-Andy as it was originally broadcast Sunday, February 18th, 1951. In the newspapers of that Sunday 72 years ago, these were some of the headlines. Britain charged Russia yesterday with using the threat of overwhelming force and aggressive and subversive policies throughout the world to prevent peace. In a 5-page note, Prime Minister Attlee's government threw the book, the entire post-war record, at Moscow in answering a Soviet charge of January 20th that Britain is violating the 1942 Anglo-Russian alliance by moving to rearm West Germany. Coming promptly after Prime Minister Stalin's Friday broadside in a Pravda interview against Britain, the U.S. and the UN, the British note was a ready-made reply to Stalin also. State Department said last night in the first official reaction to Stalin's statements Friday, said the Kremlin could remove the threat of war. The family food bill going up again perhaps before March 1st. Price Controller Michael V. DeSalle and Assistant Controller Edward F. Phelps, Jr. broke that news to the public yesterday. They disclosed plans to issue within the next 10 days or 2 weeks a markup regulation which will permit food wholesalers and retailers to pass along increases in their own costs. Meat prices expected to stay just about where they are at the highest level in history, but the corner grocer and the big chain supermarket are likely to add a penny here and a few cents there to most of their other price tags. A free-for-all battle among top Republicans over the Troops to Europe issue was assured yesterday when Governor Thomas E. Dewey of New York accepted an invitation to testify before the Senate Foreign Relations and the Armed Services Committees. At the same time, former President Herbert Hoover, who bitterly disputes President Truman's plan to bolster the Atlantic Pact Army with several divisions of American troops, politely declined to testify. Hoover suggested the committees both become better informed on the troop issue before hearing him. He said, "It seems to me that before I can be of help, it's urgent that the committees develop much more information and experienced independent opinion." Well, Sheriff John Flaska of Albuquerque, New Mexico, tells you how difficult it is getting in your pants. A bit unhappy with his 8-year-old swarming into his clothes, Flaska decided to show him the correct way to put on a pair of trousers. He perched up on one leg, lifted the other high to insert his leg in the trouser. When he started to lower the left leg, he got a crick in his back and a cramp in his leg. Doctor had to slip one hip joint and vertebrae back into place. Those some of the day's top news stories as reported in the newspapers of Sunday, February 18th, 1951, on your radio Amos-n-Andy, which continues now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
I guess the Kingfish ain't coming down to the lodge hall this afternoon. I'm going to have to take my nap by myself. Well, just as well. With both of us snoring in here, we're getting a lot of complaints from the neighbors. Well, I guess I'll... Oh, well, that must be the Kingfish. Come on in, you old goat.
Oh, excuse me. I'm looking for George Stevens.
Yeah, well, the thing is, hello?
How do you do? I was sent over here by Mr. Cunningham.
Yeah, well, I don't know who you is, but I'd sure like to thank Mr. Cunningham.
No, Mr. Cunningham from the Lonely Hearts Club.
So this is what they meant by the best in town. Boy, they wasn't kidding, was they? But tell me this, why is a beautiful gal like you messing around with a Lonely Hearts Club?
Well, my name is Brenda Thompson, and you see, I just moved into town, and I didn't know anybody here, and Mr. Cunningham has such a fine clientele, I thought I might meet some cultured and refined gentlemen. You see, I've just been so very lonely since I've been in town.
Oh, yeah. You see,
What's the matter? Is there something wrong?
No, I just having a little trouble getting my breath.
Yes, well, it's very nice of you to talk to me like this, but I'm looking for Mr. George Stevens. Can you tell me where I can find him?
Well, you see, Shake hands with Georgie boy.
Oh, you're George Stevens.
Yeah, that's right, honey. Now, sit down here on the sofa and tell me all about yourself. You see, I is free this evening, and I figured first that me and you could have some dinner.
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
Yeah, well, sit closer, honey.
You mean like this?
Yeah, now, I think you better sit back where you was. I haven't got breathing.
There you are, Miss Stevens. I has your hair all set. Oh, thank you, Mabel. You always do it so nice. That's why I like to have you work on it when I come here.
Step right over here, Miss Stevens, and sit under the dryer. Now, here's a vacant one right next to Miss Thompson.
Oh, thank you, Mabel. Oh, are you having your hair done too, miss?
Yes, I have a date tonight.
Well, how exciting. I haven't seen you around before.
No, I'm new in town. But I was so lucky. I met the most attractive single man. And, oh, he's so nice.
Well, you're very, very lucky, my dear, because you know you just can't trust the men these days.
Yeah. Well, this one is different. He's just such a dreamboat. I've never met a man quite like George before.
His name is George?
Yes, I hate to admit it, but I met him through a Lonely Hearts Club. Oh, you dropped your purse on the floor. Is there something wrong?
Oh, no. I just got the craziest thought. I wondered if you'd mind my asking. That is, I hope you don't think I'm silly, but... But this single, attractive dreamboat you met, does his last name happen to be Stevens?
That's right, George Stevens. Do you know him?
Well, slightly, but I'm certainly looking forward to our next meeting. Good day.
Oh, dear, is there something wrong?
I don't know what happened.
Well, there must be something wrong. It's the first time one of our customers ever walked out with the dryer still on her head.
Kingfish, you say you still ain't been able to speak to Sapphire, huh?
No, Andy, she won't talk to me. She done locked me out.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she got a lawyer, and she gonna sue me for separation.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause she got a process server out looking for me now.
No fooling.
Oh, yeah, process server. Got a summons for me. He's a mean-looking fella. Got a face on him like a bulldog. He's about 6 feet tall.
Yeah, well, listen, Kingfish. Why don't you let me take the gal up there and explain everything to Sapphire?
Oh, nothing doing, Andy. If she gonna take this attitude toward me, I gonna stand my ground.
Yes, huh?
Yeah, that's the whole trouble with our marriage. There ain't no faith in the thing. If she wants it that way, that's all right with me. And to think that this whole thing happened on account of that card in my pocket that I don't even know how it got there.
Yeah, you say you've been able to duck the process over up to now, huh?
Oh, yeah. When you as dodge as many summonses as I is, you can tell them a mile off. When I spots one, my nose starts twitching like a Chesapeake Bay Retriever, boy.
Well, look, who's coming across the street here, will you?
Yeah, well, it's our old friend Shorty the barber there. Hey, come in here. Unlock the door there and let him in here.
Yeah, I'll do that. Well, hello, Shorty. How is you?
Oh, I'm a happy kid. I'm a gay fella. I'm a joyous boy. I'm really a happy lad. I'm a mess.
Yeah, what's wrong with you, Shorty?
Oh, it's the most horrible. It's just the most terrible thing. It's breaking my heart. I don't think I can stand it. It's just about the words that, oh, me.
Hey, well, Shorty, what is it?
Well, it's the worst. You ain't got no idea how I'm... You see, the thing is, I got it. You see, there's... Ain't that awful?
Listen, Shorty, listen. I ain't never seen you this broke up in your life. What is the matter?
Well, it's something I got to do, and I can't do it. I just can't.
Well, now, listen, Shorty, in life, when you got to do something, you got to do it. You just got to have the courage. And anyway, nothing in the world could be that bad.
I'm glad you think so, Kingfish. Here's the summons.
February 18th, 1951, Amos-n-Andy on this Saturday Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. We'll head out west to Montana on Sunday's Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, an episode of Fort Laramie starring Raymond Burr from 67 years ago, February 19th, 1956, Boredom. Private Soothie is bored with garrison duty. He has a plan for getting a little action out of the Indians, and the Cheyennes are glad to oblige. That'll be on Sunday's Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, anytime at classicradio.stream. Now the conclusion of Amos-n-Andy from 72 years ago, February 18th, 1951.
Well, this looks to be the most serious breach the Kingfish and Sapphire ever had. Sapphire's suit for separate maintenance is on the court calendar. And right now, Kingfish and his lawyer Calhoun are meeting with Sapphire in her attorney's office to discuss a property settlement.
Now, as counselor for Mrs. Stevens, I call this property settlement to order. And I hope that both parties will conduct themselves as amicably as possible. After all, both parties are mature adults.
He ain't nothing but a mature bum. All that stuff is mine.
Don't you call me no bum. You shut your big fat mouth. That stuff belongs to me just as much as to do you.
Why, you big loafer.
Mrs. Stevens, please put down that inkwell. Now, that's better. Now, Mr. Calhoun, as attorney for Mr. Stevens, are you prepared to represent him in this property settlement?
Is I prepared? Counselor, I am prepared to meet you as lawyer to lawyer and repudiate every one of your legal arguments point by point.
That's fine. Now, Counselor, before we proceed here, what would you say to a nola contendere or judicium?
No thanks. Never touch the stuff while I'm working.
Yeah, my boy really know what he's doing today. He really on the beam, all right.
Now, regarding the settlement, I have here a list of the possessions which my client feels should revert to her.
Yeah, and I got a list of the junkyard that my client wants.
Now, first of all, my client demands the silverware.
Now, wait a minute here. That silverware belonged to me. It's a family heirloom that was handed down to me by my ancestors.
It was not.
It was, too. That silverware has been in our family since my father was a busboy at the Astor. I know that.
I will concede the silverware.
We got him on the run, Kingfish.
Now, the next thing on the list is the linens to wit. 2 chenille bedspreads, 4 pillowcases, 4 blankets, 3.5 sheets and 1 lace tablecloth.
That's the other half of the sheet.
That all belongs to me.
Yes, it's customary to award the linens to the woman. Now for the furniture. 1 living room suite.
I bought that when I worked in the department store.
1 bedroom set.
I bought that when I worked in a doctor's office.
1 stove and 1 refrigerator.
I bought them when I worked in a defense plant.
Kingfish, ain't you never worked no place, you bum?
Now, wait a minute, here, Calhoun. Wait a minute, here. You was my lawyer.
Oh, yeah.
And Sapphire, I'm telling you one thing. You ain't getting away with that living room sofa. I got squatters' rights on that thing. I've been sleeping on that thing for 7 years, and it reverts to me under the Homestead Act.
It does not. That's mine, too.
Now, see here. I register a protest that these whole proceedings is biased and discriminatory and against the best interest of my client. I move that the property in its entirety revert to my client and my client alone.
On what grounds?
Don't get nosy, bub.
Now, look here. Everything in that house I done bought and paid for, and this no-good husband of mine ain't entitled to nothing.
Yeah, well, don't forget I got my rights as a husband, and I'll take this thing to the Supreme Court. I ain't letting no woman push me around.
Please.
You ain't getting nothing. You hear?
I certainly is getting something, and I tell you, ain't no woman gonna push me around.
Counselor, can't you do something to stop them?
No, let them go on. I might get a salt and battery case out of this.
Oh, listen, Kingfish, try and pull yourself together here. I know you're feeling bad about this thing.
Yeah, Amos is right. There ain't no sense blubbering like this, Kingfish. Why don't you go and try to explain the thing to Sapphire?
Oh, no, boys. She wouldn't believe me. Circumstances is against me. After all, how was I going to explain that what I was doing at the Lonely Hearts Club had in my pocket? Look at the thing there, boys. There's a card that started the whole thing. Look at that, Amos.
Why would you be carrying a card like that around in your pocket anyway, Kingfish?
Say, wait a minute here. Look at here, Kingfish. On the back is a telephone number, Hudson 2704.
Yeah, and that's your handwriting too, Kingfish.
Hudson 2704. 2704. Hey, wait a minute. I got it. That's the number of a hair treatment place that I used to go to 4 years ago when my hair was falling out. I kept the card because it had the number on the back. Well, this sure proved that you was innocent, all right. Yeah, I'm going to take this card right over to Sapphire and show it to her now.
Hair treating place, huh? You know, from the looks of your head, you got in trouble from both sides of that card.
Now, look, honey, I've been telling you for the last hour the number is for a hair treatment place. There it is right there on the back of the card.
Well, I do remember you used to take treatments, but
Now, wait a minute, honey. I was innocent, I swear. You know that I wouldn't look at another woman.
All right, George. I believe you. I'm going to take you back this time. But believe me, it's the last time. If I ever hear of you looking or talking to a woman again, we is finished.
Oh, thank you, honey. I'm going down to the lodge hall now and get my suitcase. I'll be right back.
Hudson 2704. I think I'll call this number and check on his story.
Oh, you're finished there, Mr. Telephone Man, with the installation?
Yes, I've got the telephone all installed.
What's the new number? I'm usually the one that answers the phones around here.
It's Hudson 2704. And by the way, it just occurred to me, a couple of years ago, a hair treatment outfit had that number, but they've been out of business, so we're reissuing it.
Oh, fine. Well, I'll be around if you want me.
Well, you got a call on it already. Phone's ringing in the dressing room.
Oh, somebody in there's got it.
Hello? Hello?
Hello, Lennox Burlesque Theater. Fifi Lamar speaking.
Now again, here's your Rexall family druggist.
February 18th, 1951, Amos-n-Andy here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. I want to read once again something, because we get, every time I air Amos-n-Andy, there are people who say, well, you shouldn't air that nasty program. And it's, and I want to read the stock response that I give to people about Amos and Andy. As you may be aware, our program is not just about sanitized history, but news and radio as it took place in the media of the day. To sanitize the programs of the time is to literally change history, which is something that we as Americans cannot do. As the late philosopher George Santayana said in The Life of Reason, The Phases of Human Progress back in 1905 so eloquently, progress, far from consisting in change, depends on retentiveness. When change is absolute, there remains no being to improve, and no direction is set for possible improvement. And when experience is not retained, as among savages, infancy is perpetual. Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. In the first of our daily 3-hour program, we quote directly from newspapers of the day as the information actually appeared. We consistently point out how life has changed and how America is a much different place today. But if we do not continue to recognize how far we have come, how can we chart a course to the future? Thank you for your thoughts, and now you have a better understanding of mine. And I will say this, Amos and Andy, by and large, is accepted by our audience. What is not accepted by our audience are people who believe that we should sanitize these shows. Quite frankly, Amos and Andy was entertaining, and by the way, was a top 10 show almost all of its existence from the 1920s into the 1950s. Amos and Andy, Sunday, February 18th, 1951, on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. You have opposing opinions? ClassicRadio.stream is the webpage. Stream our shows. Learn about building a classic radio collection of your own. Contact us. Find our social media links. And if you like what we do, you can buy me a coffee. That Buy Me a Coffee money goes for us to acquire additional great classic radio collections. Thanks for tuning in. Please thank this radio station and support their advertisers. It's their kindness and courtesy that allows us to be with you each and every time we roll around here on your favorite station. I'm Wyatt Cox. Have a great weekend. Tell all your friends that great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station.